Sports Chasers Podcast. Coming to you live and direct with your host and your moderator, Kevin L. Warren. This is a real sports podcast for real fans.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? What's happening, everybody? It's another edition of the Sports Chasers Podcast. It's the Gridiron Rundown College Football Edition, Week 10, 2023 season, man. A couple of things to get into. Statement Saturday, as they would say, is the first weekend in November. The clocks go back. You know, those that are watching, hopefully you got your clock situated. It's currently 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So hopefully your clock is set and you ain't missing us. If you do miss us on the YouTube side, make sure you like, click, and subscribe. Hit that, smash that like button, and on the podcast and sound, and within the sound of my voice, make sure you give us that five-star review. Yeah, I should start doing that with my right hand, and make sure you leave a comment. In the words of D-Dub, love us, like us, hate us. Make sure you holler at us, man. But I'm not going to belabor the point. We're going to get right to it. College football, like I said, the first weekend in November. The first week in November, we're going to start off with LSU versus the LSU Tigers versus the Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama is currently now 8-1, and LSU is 6-3. After the Alabama Crimson Tide put that L on the Tigers, 42-28. Jalen Milroe, the quarterback for Alabama, he rushed for 4 touchdowns. He gave LSU that work yesterday. Alabama had 507 total yards. They rushed for 288 and they passed for 219. Milroe outplayed Daniels of LSU, who's a Heisman prospect. Milroe was his passing, which wasn't his thing this game. He was 15-23, 219 yards, just no TDs, no interceptions. But like I forestated, Milroe was 20 attempts, and 55 yards, 4 TDs. His longest was 23 yards. So, D, good morning. What's up? We're talking about LSU versus Alabama and how Jalen Milroe, how he went off yesterday against the Tigers, and now Alabama's 8-1. LSU is 6-3 here.
Hello, you hear me, Kev?
Yeah, I can hear you, and we're live, sir.
Okay, good. I'm sorry I'm late, everybody. First and foremost, thank you for joining. What I want to get into is this: when is Kelly going to get on the hot seat? No, I'm dead up. It's not that I don't like the man, because I don't know the man. I just want to know, when does he get on the hot seat? Because usually, right?
Right.
The cat. I'm sorry, I'm coming in throwing fastballs, but the cat comes into LSU, right? All fanfare, you're going to win this, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, right? Because the reality is, 2 coaches prior to him, I forget dude's name. God, used to eat dirt on the ground, but great coach. And I don't think he ever got actually another job, so I don't know what really happened to him. But his only foil was that he didn't beat Alabama, right? And then, old boy that got caught with the young lady with his shirt off at the gas station, they fired him after winning the championship, right? So he won the championship, but he couldn't. They got rid of him, right? So then you bring this guy down from Notre Dame, supposed to be a super coach, as they all are, right? Great coaches do what they do, but he doesn't beat Alabama either. I think it's for 3-4 years now, right?
This is the 3rd year in a row that they have not beat him on the first weekend in November.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, like, I just don't know if it's going to happen, but I just want to know if we're going to go to that hot seat shit, because everybody, if you don't beat Alabama, because that's usually what you're there at LSU for, is to beat Alabama. That's what they all say. This is what they all do. This is what this whole thing is Alabama, we got to beat Alabama. And you haven't. You haven't. So I just want to know when the hot seat comes. But actually, it was a good game until Alabama. It was 28 up, I think, the middle of the 3rd quarter. And then Alabama pulled away. They had, I think, an interception, and then Milroe ran the ball. And this kind of goes to a pro question that we were talking about earlier in the season. Let a quarterback do what they do, right? So, you tell him turning Milroe into Tua was not going to happen his first year out. or him into Jalen, or him into to Mac, guys that were clearly better passing quarterbacks. You weren't going to turn this kid into those guys the first week, and everybody started wilding out because he wasn't them beginning of the season. Right? He's not. He just wasn't them. He wasn't them beginning of the season. Right? And he shouldn't have been them. Right? But if he runs the ball and do what he has to do, it's not like teams haven't won national championships with Tim Tebow. Guys that ran and threw the ball. That's all.
Like I said, Milroe was amazing yesterday. Like I said, 4 touchdowns, a couple of stiff arms. And he Daniels, Jaden Daniels for LSU, he wasn't bad yesterday. 15, 24, 219 yards, 2 TDs. He did throw the ball to the other team all the time. And he rushed for 163 yards. People forget both of them running. But I think Milroe was just, his was more impactful, of course. And they got the victory. And like you said, Brian Kelly, what's really good? You came down there with your Southern accent. Coming from New England.
Let's go, America. Let's go.
Yeah, what's really good. So, it is what it is. With the Alabama's 8-1, the Tigers are the Tigers of LSU. They are 6-3. They're going to somebody else's bowl. They are bowl eligible now, being that they've won 6 games. Let me go to D's other favorite team. Excuse me. The Notre Dame. Well, D's 2 favorite teams, I should say. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish played a visit to Death Valley.
On this one.
Paid a visit to Death Valley in Clemson, South Carolina, because Clemson got the victory 31-23. Clemson's now 5-4. The Irish are 7-3. Here from the AP, Clemson coach Dabo Swinney, red hot radio tape after criticism from Tyler of Spartanburg apparently fired up the Tigers. We all had a chip on our shoulder, tailback Mike Maffa said. Maffa, filling in for the injured starter Will Shipley, ran for career high 186 yards. They put in that work on the running game. 2 touchdowns to led to the underachieving Tigers to their biggest win this season, a 31-23 victory over Notre Dame on Saturday. Let's go by the numbers. Clemson, Klubenik, he was 13-26 for 109 yards, 1 TD, and 1 interception. And as we said, the Maffa, who was who started instead of the regular running back, he was 36 of 187 yards, 2 TDs. He ripped off the longest one for 41. D, what's your thoughts on this game?
Ran well. Dabo is doing what he needed to do as a coach as far as the strategy was concerned, right? So he ensured that he ran the ball, tried to keep the game close, because I think he felt that Notre Dame probably was a better team, and the best way to win that game is by defense and running the ball, which he did. Yeah. And his team ran the ball. They played pretty solid defense. I don't think there were any surprises. I think it was the first team that kind of broke through. Was going to win this game, because I think Notre Dame had an interception for a touchdown, so they had a defensive score. I think both of these teams are pretty much equal, to be totally honest with you. Notre Dame's record does not say that, but the reality is that Notre Dame really has a schedule where they lost to Ohio State. I think they beat USC, and they lost to Clemson. So, this is about where they are, right? I don't think they're a better team than Clemson. I just think Clemson may have had a harder schedule than them to this point. So that's why their records look a little different. But I think they are exactly the same team. One is just on the way up the escalator, and the other one's on the way down the escalator. That's all.
Well, one is on the way down on the escalator because one is sanctimonious about this NIL, right? Let's call it what it is. Dabo is like, I will not take players for NIL.
He's lying, Kevin. I'm telling you, the man's lying. Okay, now I'm letting you know this, right? In Clemson, just like LSU, you're not going to lose, but so long before someone that's putting some money into the pockets of that school, hence your pockets, Dabo Swinney, is going to say to you, yo, man, get off that shit. Let's get some players in here. Let's get some players in here that can help us win. That's because you're not, the reality is you're not going to sit on the couch like Deion Sanders and be able to just woo any kid anymore. Those years when Clemson was the only game in town are over.
Yeah.
And it's over for everyone. It's over for Saban. It's over for everyone. All right? It's over for everyone. So,
do you think they can win the the ACC championship?
ACC, no, not a chance. That's Florida State's with the third string quarterback.
Can they get to the ACC championship?
Yeah, they can. Right,
but
it's two sides,
okay.
Right.
So it's two sides. So they're on the opposite. I forgot which side they are, but they are on the opposite of Florida State. Yes.
Yeah, Florida State's going.
Yeah, my question is, can they make it there? You think they'll be able to?
Can get there, I guess.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, like, this is where, again, teams being too smart for themselves is, well, I'm not going to say too smart because this is what they wanted to do because of the financial ramifications. But, you look at Notre Dame, they probably would, be on the other side and be able to play Florida State in the ACC championship, which would probably get them a closer or better chance to get to the college playoff because they could win a conference championship. But they don't want to do it. They want to play in the ACC when they want to and not when they don't want to, right? And they kind of want to have it the way they want to pick and choose. But the reality is simple. If they played in a championship game, they would have a better chance to get to the college playoff, but they won't do it. Like, so you want to play some ACC teams and you want to beat up on Pittsburgh and beat up on Boston College. And, you thought you were going to beat up on Clemson because they were bad this year, but that didn't happen. But if they got to a championship game, they would have a better chance at getting to the college playoff. But, they that money good, though. They're not doing it because that money is actually excellent from NBC. They're just not going to do it.
Yeah, true that. So, like I stated, the Irish are 7-3. Clemson is 5-4.
They'll both be bowl eligible.
Out
of the whole Potato Bowl.
Yeah. Let's go to the next game here. The Washington Huskies went to Los Angeles to face the USC Trojans. Number 5 against number 20.
Good game.
No defense playing game here. Washington wins this game 52-42. Hey, shout out to Michael Penix Jr., man. Again, he played pretty good. 22 of 30, 256, 2 TDs, 1 INT. I think he pushes his stock to be in the top for the Heisman. Your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, dude fell out, right? So Penix is in.
Yes.
Dude is out. And dude from what you call him is out. LSU is out.
Yes, so he got hurt in that at the end of that game. Correct.
So Penix is going to move up.
Yeah.
If he wasn't above him already.
Yep.
And Buddy from last year is out anyway because his team stinks.
What you talking about? Williams?
Yeah, he played a good game though. Williams played a good game.
Oh no! Listen, he was 27-35, 312 yards, 3 TDs. He was not the reason why they lost the game. USC, they defense.
Ooh,
not very good. Who's the defensive coordinator for
who knows? Mickey Mouse? Some dude that's going to get fired. That's who he is. I'm sad to say that, but with the NIL and you being able to get the players that you want, the defense this bad is just for a school of that magnitude is just not good. So, but both teams' defenses are bad. It's just like one made a play late Washington made a stop at the end of the game. And USC did not. That's
Lincoln Riley, late in the first half of USC's 52-42 loss to Washington, the ABC camera crew, they sent it on Trojan defensive coordinator Alex Grinch, and it's not the Grinch that stole Christmas, as he tried to deliver a message to the players huddled around him during the timeout. So, Lincoln Riley.
No excuse anymore. That's all I can say, right? No excuse anymore. To me,
Right.
with the environment that college football is being played in now, where you could get the NIL and get players you want, evidently they weren't wanting to get defensive players. That's basically, when they had a chance to, they didn't. That's all that is. One. And Lincoln Riley never. He's an offensive guy. And when you coach a college team like a pro team, right? So you have an offensive coach that only cares about really what the offense does. It's really inherent that you get a defensive coordinator that's serious. Like, so when Dabo had Brett Venables, he had a defensive coordinator that's going to make sure Clemson had the defense regardless of what Dabo wanted. You have to do that. You have to get a guy that's going to make sure and able to reach out and read and take a look at defensive players and get the ones that you need for your system. And it seems to me that, that doesn't happen at USC or Washington at this point in time. Right now, it just doesn't seem like they do that. Not that important, I guess.
What defense is not that important? Well, yeah, you definitely can say that, and how they didn't, play well. 52-42. That's a lot going on.
That's a lot going on. Okay,
that's a lot going on. Let me read this. Dilton Johnson never rushed for more than 100 yards in any game in 4 seasons of college football. The Washington tailback, and he came from Mississippi State, I believe.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He had a bad game, man. He was 26 of 256, 4 TDs. His longest was a 53-yarder. Penix was 22 of 30, 256. Like I said, 2 TDs, 1 interception. Jones for USC was 11 of 27 rushing, 0 TDs. His longest was 31. Caleb Williams, you think he plays rest of the time?
Oh yeah, Caleb is he's the truth. He's the best quarterback in college, and then I think maybe Drake May and Penix after that. He is the absolute truth, man. But he don't play defense, so
no, and that's not the reason why they lost the game yesterday. Hey, any problem you had? Because people are busting him over the side of the head with this emotional moment that he had on the sidelines, I guess, with his mother.
No, and I'll tell you why. It's football. And in the middle of games, you get very, very, very emotional. Those things happen, brother. I've seen it happen every level of the sport. So,
yeah, Devontae Adams just this past Monday, he was on the sideline, very emotional. Yeah, because your former quarterback could not get him the ball.
Boy,
no, this is the college. No, I'm sorry to trigger you.
No, the reality is, I'm sorry, Devontae. I told you, I sent you that email. You weren't listening. But listen, man, I tell folks, and I don't. It happens in all sports. Depends on the kids, but I know it happens in football because I've been around that a lot more. I tell people, man, you practice 4 or 5 days a week for one game. Every game is very emotional. Every game is very emotional, man. You go through a whole week to win that one game that weekend. So you put all those plans in and you install this offense, you install this defense, you do all these things. And you're trusting in your coaches. And when you don't see it work, you're upset because you don't know what to do. Because the coaches are who you trust. And the system and defense that your coaches put in couldn't stop a baby. So now you're like, what the hell? What are we doing? What are we doing here? That's all. That's what you're thinking. Like, what are we doing?
Right.
What are we doing? Oh, that's kind of where that comes from.
Yeah.
I understand it. It happens.
Gotcha. We'll move right along to other game on tap here, and people might wonder why we I'll just go to it. Florida State beat Pitt 24-7. This game was close here for the half, and then Florida State pulled away. Ja'Kai Douglas was there during the dark days at Florida State when the losses piled up on the program. Reputation as a national power seemed like a distant memory, according to the AP. Those days are over. The fourth-ranked Seminoles are returning to the ACC title game for the first time in nearly a decade after pulling away from Pittsburgh for a 24-7 win on Saturday night. Let's go by
10 NIL players on that squad starting Florida this year.
Say that one more time, D. I'm sorry.
I said I think it's more than 10 NIL players are starting for
Florida State. Yeah.
A good team though. Shoot, man.
Nah,
they can play. They can play with the SEC type teams, and I want to get into that in a second. But yeah, I think they're a good team, and I think they'll if they're allowed to make it to the playoffs, because it's still only 4 teams. I don't know what the last 4 thing is, but I think that they could probably give dudes a good game based on their size, speed of the players on the squad. I think they'll be able to give dudes a go. At least I think so, but that's a good team. They're not the old Florida State blow cats out by 1,000 points, but if they get up on you, they got running backs. Like they got like 4 of them, and they go all game long. Like they got 4 of them, and they go all game long. So, and they play pretty good defense. So I being the guy that loves defense more than offense, yeah, they do their thing there. So I like Florida State.
Benson, their quarterback, was 12 of 97. He was 22 of 36, 360 yards, 1 TD. He also rushed for 97 yards. He was definitely a dual threat on yesterday. Like I said, Pitt hung with through. I watched a little bit of it, and then I watched the highlights of it. Pitt was hanging with them for the first half, and then in the second half, Florida State pulled away. Florida State is currently 9-0. They're number 4 in the nation. And Pitt is 2-7, currently going nowhere fast, man. But they've given a couple teams a run for their money.
Yeah, but Pitt plays hard every game, which everyone's supposed to do. So I can't give you like credit for playing hard, because that's what you should be doing anyway. But the reality is, yeah, man, Pitt has a good team. They still have a good team, man, from 2 years ago. I think they're starting to recruit the type of Pitt players that they like to get. It's just with a school like Pitt, everything has to come together at 1 year. Like, so it's usually like every 3-4 years. Them, Wake Forest, which are good schools, good programs, but when they get a senior class or a senior laden class, they get good quick. Like they'll go from a 27 year to next year being 8 and something. So we'll see what happens next year. Right, because it's bringing in seniors if you can. Whatever works for you, get it in there now. Now it's whatever works for you, get it in there. Right, whatever. If you want it, pay for it. It's like you go to the store.
Right, true that.
If you want, baby, if you want it, get it. Okay, just get it. That's what you want. A running back. Okay, let's go. Come on.
You'll get you a couple of linemen and whatever. Right.
Yeah. Just buy what you want.
So let's go to our last game. Let's go to our last game here on the docket here. The Oklahoma State Cowboys, they defeated the Oklahoma Sooners 27-24. Number 22 defeats number 9 here. The Sooners are now 7-2. The Cowboys are now 6-2. From the AP, Oklahoma State coach Mike Gundy didn't even bother trying to downplay the importance of beating Oklahoma on Saturday. This will probably, we don't know when they'll face each other, because I believe Oklahoma is going to the SEC.
Yeah, they have to figure that out, man. Because that rivalry we have to do that every year, right? Oklahoma has to play Texas every year. Oklahoma has to play Oklahoma State every year. They'll have to figure something out.
Yep.
And I think you have a chance to do so, right? Because schedules are done every 3 years in advance, and with them going to the new conference, some nerd like me had to be sitting somewhere in a room and pull together these schedules for these new teams coming into the conference. So and it's too much money for both conferences if you have the Oklahoma State game. Like it's just that money, that game is going to be money every year. Like, so Dan complained about this earlier with Pittsburgh and West Virginia and their rivalry games when dudes go to different conferences. So they're going to have to figure something out and make sure this game happens every year, because it's a good game.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely agree. Let's go by the numbers here. Oklahoma State's quarterback Bowman, he was 28 for 42, 334 yards. no TDs, no INTs. Gordon the second, he was 33 of 137, 2 TDs. His longest he ripped off was 35. Gabriel, their quarterback for Oklahoma, he was 26 of 37, 344 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception. Oklahoma State had 480 yards of total offense. Oklahoma State 480 yards of total offense. Oklahoma with 492 yards of offense, and they wind up defeating the Sooners of Oklahoma, man. So, like D said, this game has to go on every week. Some of the rivalry games, you'll see a lot of the Pac-10, Pac-12, whatever. You'll see some teams shifting over. So hopefully they'll be able to keep that. So D, let me ask you this real quick before we get out of here. Anything? So November 1st, the clocks go back. Your thoughts? Any not storylines, but anything that you see in the future?
Yeah, I saw something yesterday that was a good game, man.
Yeah,
it started out being, and it ended up not being. It was the James Madison, Georgia State Panthers, which is basically an FCS game, but James Madison is ranked 23 in the country because they're 9-0.
Explain to those what is the FCS. Some guys might not.
FCS the FCS are the college championship, right? So in the college championship, they kind of do it different down there at regular Division I, where they have kind of like a tournament for FCS, to be the champion of F football championship series, as opposed to the football bowl series, which is the FBS, which is the bigger schools, where you get to be the national champion of the country, and the Division I schools, which James Madison is, but they're just good enough to be ranked with the FBS schools because they're 9-0. They beat the crap out of everybody thus far this year. They'll play in the FCS.
I got it up there on the board. Yeah, James Madison.
Yeah, that's where they're at. So, and they'll probably be the FCS champion. But Georgia State is a good team out of Atlanta. They're not a bad team, and at least for the first half of the game, they was on it. It was 14-7 James Madison at the end of the half, and then things got kind of crazy. And James Madison scored 14 points in the third quarter, 14 points in the fourth quarter, and the score ended up being 42-14 because all Georgia State could do is muster another 7 points, another touchdown in the third quarter. But with that being said, that's I think. Jay, I will by tomorrow, and I'll just kind of interrupt our pro thing tomorrow night, and at least put up on the board what the standings are in FCS, and so you'll see who that is. And I kind of think if you could do it the way they do it, which the big schools aren't going to do, it's better because it's a tournament, right? So they have a tournament for Division I FCS, Division II, and Division III. Right. And these tournaments, I'm telling you, are some of the most exciting football you'll see because these are very, very evenly matched teams in these tournaments. So you don't necessarily have all the time in the FCS or mid-major D1 schools, schools that are that much better than the rest of them. Right. So, like a Coastal Carolina is very good. Like they're probably right there with James Madison. You have these schools. So when they have the tournament, these games are close. You don't have when Michigan played Georgia and beat, and Georgia beat Michigan by 1,000, like it was, you don't have that in these tournaments, man.
I got it up there on the board there. Some of the FCS leagues, Big Sky, Big South, Colonial Athletic, Independence. You got Ivy League, of course, Mid-East and Atlantic, Missouri, Northeast, Ohio Valley. Go ahead, D. I'm sorry.
What I promise is, we'll dive into this for the rest of the season. And so what we'll do is we'll pull up the best teams in these conferences, do a little research, because the reality is that these people have a stronger fan base than maybe some of the bigger schools, right? Because, folks went to James Madison, and they're proud that their school is playing very well because
They
they
was
don't play
ranked. They
well
was
every
ranked
year.
last
So I
week.
guess
They're not ranked this week, but they was ranked last week, if I remember correctly. They was ranked
23rd last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so what I'm saying is that when folks are watching these teams, they have a fan base too, and they get really, really excited because their teams aren't great every year. So
Right.
I think if you go to Alabama, you went to Alabama, you went to Georgia, you might be able to get fatigued because your team is always good, right? So you're not as invested going to games and doing this and that and the third because those schools are always good. And usually when you go to those bigger schools, you move away from those schools. Guys that go to smaller schools still tend to live closer to the schools that they went to. And with
did D freeze up? D might have froze up here. D, are you still there? Let me see if I can get him back. D, you froze up. Well, D was talking about FCS schools as we still try to get them back. I don't know what happened there, but I was trying to give a little thing. But hey, it's 31 minutes afterwards, man. Hey, this is the Gridiron Rundown College Football Edition, Week 10. And hey, we're gonna sign off right here. Hey, don't forget to get at us tomorrow night as we talk about Week 9 of the NFL season. We'll break down some of the 5 most important games of today, of Sunday, all the way up from Sunday. The Dolphins are currently playing the Kansas City Chiefs in Germany. So hopefully we'll talk about that game or any of the good games that's going on today on Sunday, man. Yeah, D, can you hear me? D, you went in and went out. Anyway, D, D, you keep going in and out, man. You are frozen. So on behalf of myself, I'm Kevin L. your host and moderator for the Sports Chasers podcast. For DA, who's frozen, for the rest of the crew, hey, this is the Sports Chasers podcast. Y'all be good, be blessed. We'll see y'all tomorrow for the fourth and short segment, the NFL segment, Week 9. Y'all be good, be blessed. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy.